Hi everybody, I'm Sarah. I run Amiable Airplants, and this is a video about removing pups from their mothers. It's Mother's Day. This is about celebrating motherhood and motherhood of plants and learning about these mother plants and how they work. So, I'm going to start the video off with my oldest pupping plant. This is a Streptophila Eric Noblock hybrid. And this pup has been growing since last March. You can see that the pup is still relatively tiny. It's getting there, but it's still pretty tiny. I wouldn't want to remove this because you want to wait until the pup is 1/3 to 1/2 the size of the mother plant before you try removing it. It's always a good idea to do that. If you really want to ensure its survival as a separate plant, you want to wait until it's that large. He's pretty slow growing, but if I've learned anything from Tillandsia, it's that you need to learn to be patient with them because they are very slow growers. The next plant I have is an Airplant standard form, and this one is a little tricky because at first glance it doesn't look like it has a pup. Normally, pups will tend to grow from the base, but in some instances they do grow from inside one of the leaves farther up on the plant. If you look here, you can see that it kind of splits off in two directions, and that's where the pup separates from the mother. Although this pup looks fairly large and would probably survive on its own if I tried to remove it, if you look closely, you can see that it's pretty well embedded in the mother plant, and I wouldn't want to risk tearing off too many leaves from the mother because that could kill her potentially. So I'm going to leave this one on. The next plant I have is an Ionantha fuego. This is a plant that began flowering early last summer, and pups grew shortly thereafter. As you can see, it has 1, 2, 3 main pups with a 4th smaller one hidden in the base. They've all been around for about the same amount of time. They all showed up, but the smaller one hasn't really made any growth progress. And as I said before, these plants, they grow on their own pace, so you just gotta learn to not rush them. Let them grow. I think that this one will look cuter as a clump, so I'm gonna leave him alone. The next plant species I have is an Ionantha scoposa. Now this one's pups have been growing far faster than the Ionantha fuego, but they took a while to show up. So this one flowered in December, and its pup didn't show up until like February. It's still pretty small, and I always like to play on the safe side, so I'm not gonna remove that pup. The next plant I have is this Airplant bronze standard form, and as you can see, it has grown into a clump. A clump forms when you have a plant and it flowers and produces a pup, and then you leave the pup on there. And then what happens is that pup grows into an adult, and it has a flower, and then it has pups, and so the cycle of life continues. And more pups form, until you just have this huge clump of pups and plants. And I got this plant in this form, so I don't know where the mother plant is in this plant. I would not try to remove any of the pups in this one just because I can't see where one starts and the other ends. Plus, you know, it's the only clump I really have, so I'm gonna leave it like that. The next plant I have is a Funkiana, and this plant has 6 pups, but they're relatively tiny, and as you can see, they're not growing out of the base as most plants do. This is another instance of when it's growing out of the leaves. So you have one here, and then you have one here, and then you have 4 on the upper rim of the plant. And these pups are quite tiny. They've been taking a very long time to grow. I'm not going to try to remove them. They're just gonna stay as is, and I wouldn't want to hurt any of them. The next plant I have is a Brachycallis abdita, and this is the pup and this is the mother. Her pup has endured quite well and is actually over half the size of the mother and could very easily survive on its own. However, as you can see, it's kind of held in there by quite a few leaves. It didn't grow directly from the base, it kind of grew a little more inwards there. So I'm gonna wait till these leaves die off naturally, or until the pup just becomes so large that I can just reach in and grab its base without having to dig it out of the leaves. This is an example of a plant that had pups before it began flowering. So this pup started growing maybe a couple weeks ago. It's still fairly tiny. Just look at that little thing. It only has one leaf, and the second leaf is in there starting to grow. It's a bulbosa, and I have seen no evidence of a spike beginning to grow. I am keeping an eye out for it, checking in on him every day. So yeah, this guy is still very tiny. Do not remove a pup this tiny from the mother if it's avoidable, because this guy would probably not survive very long on his own. And he'll grow a lot faster with the nutrients from the mother. This is one of my other mother plants. This is a Neglecta giant form, and it has one pup. Now, this is another one of those species where it grew a pup before it started flowering. So it flowered when I got it, and the pup was already about this size when I got it. You can see him there. So clearly it began pupping before the flower came. So this guy's not quite large enough to be removed from the mother yet. And last but not least, this is my Caput Medusae, my very first air plant that bloomed March through May last year. And so I first saw signs of the pup in mid-June. And look where we are now, almost a year later, and this pup has grown to full maturity and started to grow a spike of its own, which will soon flower, and then this plant will have pups of its own. I am going to be demonstrating removing this pup from its mother. So you're going to want to grasp the plant firmly on both sides of the mother and the pup, and then you're going to give her a gentle twist until the pup breaks off, which at this point in its life cycle should happen quite easily. So let's see what we got here. And there we have it, folks. The pup with a few roots of its own, and the mother all by itself. And that, my friends, is how you separate a pup from its mother. This plant was very clearly mature, ready to live on its own, and I cannot wait to see its pups. I'm just so proud of this little guy. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this video. This is just my passion. I really, really love these plants, you guys, and I'd love to teach you guys more about them. So comment, subscribe, give me a like, and let me know what you want to see in my next video. I'll see you next time.